true.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. All praise is due to Allah, and may His peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We begin by greeting our brothers and sisters here, as well as our viewers, saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Last time we discussed the 10 kind of people that we ought to avoid, and we will not go into this. And now we will go into, well, let's assume that we did find a person that we want to be with. What happens from there? And I know that we have not spoken about the qualities that we ought to be looking for, but let's say potentially I do find a person that seems to be nice, that seems to be compatible, and now what happens from there? One thing is, let us concentrate on where we might potentially go wrong. So we say, do not make the following mistakes. Now that you found a person, potentially they may make good spouse. Avoid making the following mistakes. Mistake number one, people do not ask enough questions. You must ask enough questions. And that brings us to the question of, how do I get to know that person? People, you must communicate with that person. You must talk to that person. Remember, this is a big, huge time commitment. Then people say, well, what are the parameters? What is halal? What is haram? What are my boundaries? What do I do? Remember this. Number one, once a person proposes, be it to you directly, be it to your family, you must bring an immediate ethical value to the relationship, that you make it a family issue. You know, one thing about Islam, especially in the Muslim culture, is that we are not asked to just behave in a very individualistic way, but rather we belong to a family. And now we are about to bring, another person into our family in the capacity of a brother-in-law or a son-in-law or what have you. So we must consult our families, and we must let them know that this is what is taking place, keeping in mind that eventually and ultimately it is us who is going to make that final decision. So what happens is that you bring in an ethical value to the relationship by making it a family issue. Once that is done, it becomes easier to talk to the person. You're not afraid of, and the person is not afraid of calling your family, saying that I would like to talk to this person because I am about to get to know them better. They do this in the presence of your parents. They do this in the presence of your brothers. They do this in the presence of your sisters. Sadly, sometimes what you see is that people sneaking behind their parents' back to talk to a person that is considering them genuinely for marriage. You see people taking their cell phones and going to the bathroom to talk to them. People taking their cell phones and going to bed and covering themselves with a blanket and with the pillow to talk to them so that the sound does not go out. Why do you have to put people through this? If that person has approached the family and they have made it known, they have made their intentions known, they have visited, they have met, and I just want to know this person more. Here I am making my intentions clear. So I say you must get to know that person. Be it you talk to them, be it they visit, be it you visit over. The point is that you must talk to them. What are the boundaries, especially when you are talking to them over the phone? Please remember the following 3 rules as you are doing this. Number 1, always assume that there is a third party listening to this conversation, be it on the phone or be it when you are there. Would you say the things that you are saying right now? And if the answer is no, then what you are saying is not proper. If a third party was present, would you say what you are saying right now? And if you would not saying it, then that what you are saying is not proper. Remember the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ? Sin is that which pricks into your heart, and you are afraid that it gets exposed to people. So you become your own policeman. Number 2, do not make it a habit. Okay? Do not become addicted to it. Sometimes people think that they are in love and they just must hear the person's voice. And if they're not listening to the person's voice, what happens to them? They're depressed for the entire day. So do not make it a habit. And point number 3, the sun goes down, the phone goes down. Because your hormones go crazy at night. And people end up saying things that they ought not to be saying. However, by the end of the day, you must get to know the person. And the best way to get to know the person is to do what? Is to ask questions. You must ask questions. You must be able to make an observation of the person in a social setting. You must ask questions. Remember the example of the tomatoes and the example of the dress and the example of the car that we spoke about? People ask more questions about the car that they're going to buy than the questions that they ask that they are about to marry. So you must ask questions, or ask lots and lots of questions. But why don't people ask questions? Here you are, you just met the person and people have no questions to ask. Why is that? Two reasons. Number one, some people feel that it is not romantic to ask questions. So what you do is that they keep talking about, they keep talking about safe subjects such as, school, how do you like your school? My school is fine. What are you studying? Studying this. But they really do not ask questions that are very important. Why is this? Because it's not romantic. What is romantic? In the States, people do what? You talk on the person, to the person on the phone, and then what happens when you are about to be done with the phone? What do? Okay, salam alaikum, and then what do people say? Okay, inshallah, hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. People think that this is romantic. They think that this is cute. It is childish. And when you do not ask important questions, it may not be romantic, but it is intelligent. It is the right thing to do. I've known people who have gotten married. They've never met the person that they were about to marry. They've never spoken to the person that they were about to marry. And they've never had a conversation with the person that they were about to marry. You just saw them, if you had the chance to see them, and that was it. This guy goes to propose to a girl whom he has heard good things about, so he goes and he meets with her father, and then he asks the father, may I please see your daughter? And he said, what do you need to see about her? I told you everything about my daughter. You make up your mind right now if you want to marry her or not. I think that's silly. How can you do this? Even in the hadith that we quoted earlier, the Prophet ﷺ advised Jabir radiallahu anhu to go and see the woman. See what it is that you're getting yourself into. See what it is that you as a woman getting yourself into. With what kind of a man are you getting yourself into? And somehow, and we spoke about this earlier in previous episodes, when some people think that, it is not religious to make such a big deal of the appearance of the person. What in the world are you talking about? This is the person that you will spend the rest of your life with, and you don't even know what they look like. You must ask questions, people. You must ask questions. And sometimes we don't like to ask questions because we don't want to know the answer. Sometimes it's just we create our own fantasy, and what happens is that I like the fantasy that is of my creation. And because I like the fantasy of my creation, I don't want anybody to spoil it up for me. So what do? You don't ask questions. I like what I have created. And as such, I'm going to ignore anything. And sometimes we don't like to ask questions because we don't want to be asked. So I ask the question, and then what if that person answers me, and then they say, what about you? And I don't have good answers for them. So what is the safe way to do it? I don't ask you, you don't ask me. And that's fair, right? That is just silly. And that is childish. What do you ask about? What do you suggest that here you are, you just met a person. Let's assume that there is a person here, and we are about to consider them for marriage. What would you want to know about this person? You say aloud an answer. What do you want to know about the person? Their name? What do you want to know about them? Profession? Hobbies? Strengths? Weaknesses? Interest? Family background? His past? Religious background? If you are really sitting here by choice or by force, okay? Attitude? Temperament? Are you angry? No, I am not. Okay? What else? Okay, try to look in for compatibility, similarities. What you said, you think we have enough information to make a lifetime commitment to this person? Why don't we know what to ask for? Maybe it's the myth that we believed earlier. When I see her, I'll know if she's the right person for me or not. Or when I see him, I will determine right then and then whether they are the right person for me. What do you want to ask people? Huh?
We'll ask the person sitting out there about their day-to-day life, like inquire about even the details, like such as, for example, like how does he deal with the people out there at his workplace, with his staff, or for that matter, how does he do something for Islam, or does he go to the other side and do something for his religion, like besides his normal daily work. And we'll inquire for many other minute details. We'll be asking that, right?
Do I have enough information, people, about this person? I'm telling you, everybody gets an opportunity to ask a question. Do we have enough information on the basis of the answers that you have given? Named it? Huh? Aim?
Try to give in situations and like how he would react to the situation.
Okay. So you are in traffic and traffic is really bad. What are you going to do? Okay. Somebody just hit your car. What are you going to do to them? The dog ate your homework. What are you going to do? Okay.
Something what he would like to see in a wife, in his future wife. What qualities he would like to see in his future wife, which would help out to have a good relation.
Okay. What do you want to know? All the ladies are doing the talking. What do you say? Her definition of happiness? Okay, philosopher. Her definition of happiness. What else?
What does marriage mean to the other person?
What does marriage mean to the other person? That's it? Huh?
What's her idea of deen?
What's her idea of deen? Okay. Huh?
Is he going to jail me after marriage or give my own freedom?
Okay. Is he going to jail me after marriage? Okay.
Why he wants to marry?
Why do you want to marry? Okay.
What is his likes and dislikes, and what is the hated thing that, what is the thing that he hates the most?
Okay. What does he like and doesn't like? What does he
The
hate?
goals and the aims in life.
Aims of his life. Okay.
Have you attended the workshop, Sheikh Yassir?
Have you attended this workshop? Okay.
How far do you believe on working on relationship together?
Okay. Do we have enough information about that person? Let me ask you this. Is this information available to somebody whom he is not married to? Will his co-workers know this information? Of course they would. His co-workers would know what does he like and what does he does not like. So what more are you getting to know that others don't already know or they have already observed? What do we ask about people? Who are his friends? Okay. What do people usually ask? What's your favorite song? What's your favorite movie? Who's your favorite movie star? Isn't that what people talk about? And then what happens if you agree on a movie star? Oh my God, I like him so much too. Allah is sending me a sign. We like the same movie star. I just found out about my nasib, right? And we jump in. But that is the kind of stuff that people usually like to talk about, right? Okay, so let's see. What do we suggest that people ask for? Oh, we actually cannot do that. We will have to take a short break and then we will be back as to what are the questions that we ask for. So please do stay tuned with us.
And always be seen as man and wife, fulfilling.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And welcome back to Before You Say I Do. And we are discussing, let's assume that you do find the potentially right person. What are some of the things that you should and you should not do? And we're talking about the mistakes that people do once they found a person, potentially be a good spouse. And we said that the first mistake that people do is that people do not ask enough questions. We said that you must ask enough questions. Why do we avoid asking enough questions? Simply because we do not feel that it is romantic. When I say questions, I'm talking about important questions. Or sometimes we do not want to know the answer simply because we have built a fantasy for ourselves. Or sometimes because we don't want to be asked the same questions to ourselves. And our audience here have been very generous with giving us ideas as to what kind of questions do we need to ask. You must ask questions. Why do we need to ask questions? Simply because the more information we have about a person, the better we will be able to judge whether or not this person will make a good spouse. The less information we have about them, the more likely we are to get hurt, angry, disappointed, or heartbroken. So the point is to do what? To avoid putting yourself in any of the four last things: hurt, disappointed, angry, or heartbroken. And the way to avoid this is by asking important questions. And I think that you have suggested good questions as we were talking, but here is a list of general topics that you must visit with the person. Now, we want to ask about their family background and quality of family relationships. What is it so important that people, why do we need to know about this? So what if the person says, my parents were divorced? Doesn't say necessarily much, but we want to know what was it like in their upbringing. What kind of a family environment did they grow up in? What kind of, whether it was healthy or not healthy, what type of a household did they grow up in? How did the men treat the women? How did the women treat the men? So as they're talking, you know, it's not only what they say, it is also how they say it. And more important than asking the question is what? Listening to the answer. See, sadly, we are not very good listeners, people. Generally speaking, we are not good listeners. Sometimes we're not good listeners because we're just doing all the talking all the time. You know, one of the characteristics of the believers in the Quran is what? That they're good listeners. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes them as saying, فَبَشِّرْ عِبَادْ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ. So give the glad tidings to my servants. They are those who hear what is said, or they listen to that which is said, and then they follow the best of what they have heard. What do people in the hellfire regret most? That they did not listen. That they did not listen. And they say, وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. And they said, had we been a good listeners, or we had been endowed with intellect, we would not be in the blazing fire. So you must be a good listener. It's not enough that you just ask the question. You must also be able to see, how does the person say the answer? What is the facial expression as they are saying the answer? Remember, I am about to commit to this person for the rest of my life. It's not enough that I just hear what she is saying. I must also listen to what is being said and how it is being said. So I want to know about the family background. I want to know about past relationships, if there were any, and the reasons why that these relationships did not work out. I want to know about their ethics, about their morals. I want to know about their values. I want to know about their attitude, about love and commitment. I want to know about their spiritual and religious philosophies, which is something that was suggested earlier. I want to know about their personal and professional goals. Now, this does not necessarily tell you everything about the person, but it creates a good ground for you to be able to make the decision. Do I want to go on, or do I not want to go on with this kind of basic information about the person? Now, there is one that is very similar to this, and I believe it is going to be the second mistake. We either do not ask enough questions, or many times we ignore warning signs of potential problems. Remember what we said a few episodes ago, that every time we are revealing something about ourselves, all the time, be it in our reaction of how we talk, how we feel about that which was said to us, we are constantly making a statement about ourselves, if people are paying attention. So what happens is that sometimes we hear things that people are telling us, and we ignore these potential problems. Why do we ignore these potential problems? Let me give you an example, and this is the last statement that is down there. Brother at the restaurant. So this guy is interested in this sister, and they decided with her and her brother, they were going to take him out and have breakfast together at a restaurant. So the brother, who's interested in the girl, along with the sister, whom he is interested in her, and her brother, they went out to have breakfast together as a chance to get to know these people better. And here's what she said. She said, we go there, and I am observing this person. Said every time a woman passed by, he made sure that he looked at her all the way until she can no longer be seen. Would you say that this is a potential warning sign right there? Every time a woman passes by, he would make sure that, and because this has been a habit ingrained in the person for so long, he forgot that he is here sitting with these people that are observing him, and he was just acting his habit out again. Is this a warning sign? Oh yes, it is. Would it be smart on her part to ignore this potential warning sign? Oh no. Oh no. So as people are talking to us, you have got to remember this. And that is why when people come to counseling, there is this phrase that I just cannot tell you how many times I have heard it. You have changed, you used to be different. No. The person was always like that, you just didn't see it. The person was always like that, you just did not see it. The person was always angry, you just did not see it. You are too blinded by love. The person has always been a pessimist, you just did not see it. The person has always been a terrible listener, a terrible communicator. You were just too blinded by love, you did not see it. So when people say this, I say, well, they must have displayed some warning signs initially. So what warning signs did you ignore? Or what potential warning signs did you ignore? Okay? So what are some of these warning signs? Remember the questions that we asked to that person? Well, they avoid discussing their past. They don't say anything about their past. Well, why are they not saying anything about their past? Why are they avoiding talking about their families? Why do they avoid talking about their schooling? Why do they... Let me give you an example. This guy gets married to a girl. Believe me, this is a story that I know of personally. And he tells the family of the girl that he is a medical doctor. And they come to the US after they get married to only find out that the guy is not a doctor, he's not a doctor assistant, he is not a nurse, he is not a nurse assistant, he is the assistant of the nurse assistant. But yet he came there and he said that he was a doctor. Now, why don't people ask, how do you qualify something like this? Do you call around and you ask, so what does such and such person do? And people will tell you what they do. I know another family, the guy goes there and he tells the family that he is a pilot. Pilot, that's a really exciting job. You get free tickets. You go all over the world with me. I am a pilot. Only to find out that the guy was a clerk. Now, had he said that he's a clerk, there is nothing wrong with being a clerk. There is nothing wrong with being an assistant for the assistant of the nurse. There is nothing wrong with that. That's all the time that we have for this part of our program. Very grateful that you have joined us. And as always, we look forward to your comments and to your questions and to your remarks. You may do so at Yassir Fazaga at peacetv.org. Until we meet next, inshallah, we say so long and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.